Well, good evening, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Cambodia Global Dialogue, Southeast Asia TV. Tonight I have a pleasure to have for the third time my good friend from Manulife, and our discussion will be quite, I would say, relaxed, because this is not the first time, and it's sort of like a good take stock exercise, because it's been 6 years that we have, a bit more than 6 years even, that we have this life insurance industry, starting, emerging, growing, nowhere near maturing yet. And it's good to have, a good take stock exercise, and perhaps also a bit of the, what do we see the prospect of the future, the impact of the industry on the Cambodia economic development, and more on a micro level, how does it impact the life of Cambodian themselves, in this particular context. So welcome once again.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so why don't you've been here 3 times, this is the 3rd time, but I think people may have forgot you, so why don't I give you a few minutes just to, get yourself settled, and you perhaps can give yourself a bit of background for the audience.
Sure, well, thank you very much, and it's a great pleasure to be on your show again. As you said, it's been 6 years since Manulife opened its office here in Cambodia, and I can't believe how quickly the time has gone. Just to remind you a little bit of background about myself, my name is Robert Elliott, and I work for Manulife, and I joined Manulife back in 1980. I'm from Northern Ireland, from the UK, and have worked in Hong Kong for Manulife, the UK and Singapore. And then back in 2012, I had the great honor to be given the opportunity of starting Manulife's new business here in Cambodia. And that coincided with the launch of the industry. So the industry had started in May 2012.
Yes.
We launched in June 2012. And, that was quite an exciting challenge.
Yes.
I had no idea what I was letting myself in for.
Yes.
Because this is quite a mature industry. I mean, this industry goes back,
As an industry worldwide, it is a
as an
mature
industry worldwide.
Sure. Yeah.
Life insurance and its role in economies is quite significant. But in Cambodia, the industry only started, as I say, 6 years ago.
Yes.
And so it was interesting, and I was going to be learning new skills.
Yes.
Because I had joined the industry when it was well established.
Yes. Well, Manulife is a Canadian company. Yeah. I was in Montreal, Toronto a few weeks ago. And huge headquarters there.
Yes.
So you were work in Toronto for a while then?
No, I never worked in Toronto.
Yeah.
As I say, I joined Manulife in the UK.
Okay.
And at that time, Manulife had an operation in Asia.
Yeah, okay.
I'd known about it, and it had an operation in North America, in the United States, and it was a Canadian company. The company was established in 1887, so it's over 100.
Slightly older than us.
True, yeah. And so it was a very well established company, but it was a company that was very keen to operate overseas. Yes. And in fact opened up its Asia operation in 1897. So only 10 years later, Manulife opened up in Hong Kong and in Shanghai. And from those early days, the company started to move into other Asian countries, and now operates in 11 Asian countries.
Oh, okay.
And I think we have over 6 million customers
in ASEAN. You're aware, you out of the 10 ASEAN countries.
We're operating in Singapore, Indonesia, the Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, Cambodia. Yeah, those are the
7 out of 10, not bad. Yeah.
And so that's been a great help for our business.
Yes.
To have that experience in those other territories.
Look, before we jump more on the industry itself, 6 years ago when you was asked to come and you realize it's a brand new territory, it's a brand new concept.
Yeah.
What does it feel like to coming, in a new place, new country, new industry, new concept to promote here? What's the challenge?
Well, I mean, I think it's somebody once said to me that when you take on a new role, if you don't feel a little bit anxious and frightened by it, it's probably not a big enough job.
Okay.
If you're too comfortable.
Yes.
And I was a little bit, concerned, because I thought to try and get and find people who could operate in our industry was going to be a challenge. But very quickly when I met Cambodians, and I started to go through the selection interviews of selecting people, I was very, very impressed with how people had a great desire to learn.
Yes.
And it really was, to me, very motivating. And once I started to feel that actually I can work with these people, I really can build something quite special, that I became, very, very enthusiastic about it. And so I felt that the other thing was that people's language skills were very good. People could speak English.
Yes.
Obviously, some speak French, some speak Khmer. Some have been educated in Japan and could speak some Japanese. So not only myself, but the company actually was very pleased with the caliber of people that were coming forward to want to join this new industry.
How's at that time the regulatory framework, the Ministry of Finance, everything? Since the industry is quite young, how do they work with you in terms of understanding the industry? Because let's face it, it's a new industry. For regulators, it's also very new. They're quite young. They're still learning about the industry, but learning from the book is one thing. Trying to actually regulate is something else. How's your working relation, the partnership with the government?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. And I think that MEF selected international companies which had good reputations and had very deep experience in Asia. And so therefore we were able to collaborate with the regulator to share some of the practices in the other territories.
Yes.
And I think over the last 6 years, that has been one of the most rewarding parts of the job. That MEF have been very, very supportive in helping establish the industry. And life insurance plays such an important role in society that it really is a truly collaborative partnership to ensure that we're getting the right regulation, that we're giving companies the opportunity to build their businesses here, and ensuring that we are giving the people good service and that they're buying reliable products and help them achieve their goals and their ambitions.
Yes.
So it has been very, very good relationship with the regulator, and I enjoy very much meeting with them and discussing the future of the industry and the direction. But you are correct. At the beginning, people were learning, and so and people wanted to understand why things are a certain way in Singapore, and why they're a certain way in Malaysia market, and why it's slightly different somewhere else. And of course, those territories had decades to build up the regulation, and in some cases they'd made mistakes, and then they'd made some adjustments. And Cambodia had this opportunity of adapting best practice from each of those particular countries.
I go backward a bit in time. when we negotiate the accession to WTO, I mean, we were asked to open up the financial sector, and life insurance is definitely one. But it's quite interesting that so it's like 6, 7, 8 years before you came to Cambodia. So imagine in the early 2000s, we actually have to say that look, we intend to open, but we're not ready because we don't understand yet. So we asked at that time to ADB was helping to put the financial sector blueprint, right? And that's where we say, okay, first phase what we have to do, medium term what we have to do, and in the long term, I mean, it's very important that the money collected from the PM is reinvest in the country. The government will have to put a infrastructure, that sort of thing, a pension fund, that sort of thing. But it's quite amazing that how things that I see now is in the economy in the country, how foreign a concept it was 15 years ago. We say, oh, pension, geez, I mean, do we have a pension? Who gonna put the money? How? It's a lot of question mark, But now we have. And in my view that we've been progressing, and yet, we're still a bit a long way as compared to ASEAN fellow. We're in the ASEAN Economic Community now. It's a very dynamic region, So how do you see our industry as relating to our neighbor, for example? How can we catch up?
Well, I think that the evidence is that Cambodia learns very quickly, and it actually does leapfrog in certain technologies. I mean, one of the things that I was very surprised by was people using mobile banking. Using companies like Wing to transfer money to members of their family in different provinces. And that is just amazing that people adopted to that mobile banking so quickly. And so your question around, getting a pension industry established, getting the capital markets operating, and allowing people to invest through different instruments into the Cambodian economy will come. And the life insurance industry plays a very important role in facilitating that. And at the moment, a lot of our investments are in deposit accounts, but we are very keen as an industry to help develop the capital market for Cambodia. And the pension side will become very important because the average age of Cambodian is about 24. Now, that is very different to some other countries. Some of the more advanced economies, the average age is quite high. And people are reaching retirement age in very large numbers. And unless people have already saved or had the opportunity to have purchased their own pension plan, they will find it difficult to sustain their lifestyle in retirement. Now, Cambodia has a great opportunity because the average age is so young. There's 30, 40 years of that population to age to ensure that people have a basic pension plan, and then on top of that, things that they want to invest in themselves through the sort of things that companies like Manulife provide in other countries as well.
Thanks. I think we're going to take a short break and we'll come back. We'll delve further into the industry. All right. Robert, let's dwell a bit into our industry here. So far, I think there's quite a lot of growth in the industry. Can you tell us a bit more how we're doing industry-wide in Cambodia?
Okay. Well, as I say, we started 6 years ago. There were 3 life companies operating at that time. And the first thing we needed to do was to really try and educate the public in getting a better understanding of what life insurance does and its relevance. And I think we've done quite a good job in that. We've done a lot of branding. We've run a lot of education seminars. I think something like 130,000 people have attended seminars where we've been explaining our products and how our products actually work. I think people needed to build up trust in life insurance, because you were asking somebody to purchase an intangible product. You can't see it and you can't feel it. And if tragedy was to strike, you won't be here to see whether or not it worked. And so it was very important to demonstrate that we would do what we say we would do, that promise we made to protect an individual's long-term income would actually happen. And so that took a little bit of time, but people now are trusting the industry to ensure that when somebody wants to secure their long-term future income, that they are confident that if anything happens, then they will be able to look after their loved ones. So we then started to market education policies. So Cambodian families were very, very interested in, how do I make sure that my children get a good education? Because as we all know, education is the real key to progress, success, and it just has a huge impact on our country's
and Cambodian
economy.
middle class, let me just open a parenthesis. Cambodian middle class is investing in their children's education. I mean, this is something that I see as a good prospect for any country when the middle class start to invest, and depending on their ability, that's where they will put their kids whoever they can at this educational level. Go ahead.
So, the life insurance industry is well known for providing education policies throughout the world, and Cambodia was no exception. And we found that people were very, very keen to.
In what way, by when you say provide for education, in what way?
Okay, in providing the funding.
Okay.
So, sending your children to university, whether it is in this country or you want to send them to Singapore or Australia or the UK or the United States or Canada, that takes money. And of course, it takes planning. And for the vast majority of people, they can't do that unless they plan for it. And so life insurance provides them the opportunity that when they have a child, so when they have a baby, maybe 1 or 2 years old, and they're thinking, what do we want? What's the best thing that we can do for our child? And they want to ensure that their children have a good education. So there's really two things that concerns them. One, if something ever happens to the breadwinner, what will happen to that child's education? So the life insurance industry gives the opportunity of saying, we can secure that financially by giving you life insurance. But secondly, the chances are, you're going to survive and you're going to be successful. And you'll have the opportunity then, and that policy will pay out an amount of money when the child reaches the stage of going to college.
All right.
And so that's the concept.
That's the first.
And that's something that was that's proven to be very popular. So talking about the industry, you measure the success of an industry really by its penetration of GDP.
Okay.
Now,
I guess it's still low, no?
It is.
Well, for a young economy, of course.
Yeah. It is low, and we have a lot of work to do to do it. The percentage growth figures are impressive. And in 2016, the industry had a gross premium of 46 million. So, and that was starting from zero in
from 0 to 46, not bad.
But then in 2017, that moved up to 67 million.
Ooh,
so that was over a 60% growth.
In 1 year's time, huh?
And then the previous year to that, I can't remember, but I think it doubled. So from 15 to 16 to 17.
Is that because we start with a low base?
Because we start with a low base. And our penetration is about 0.3% of GDP. Whereas in other ASEAN countries, it's between 2 to 3%.
Okay.
So there's a huge opportunity for growth. And as
6 times more, I would say, or even 10 times more.
And we have something like, now I think we have 8 life companies operating in Cambodia. So the number of companies have grown.
Okay.
And they are investing in talent, and so the country's benefiting because when we started, Cambodia had no actuaries.
Yes.
Cambodia had no life underwriters. Cambodia had no sales people with the skills and knowledge of life insurance. So, we have something like 300 staff now in Manulife and 3,000 contracted insurance advisors.
Yes.
We've built up over 6 bank partners that we work with. And so people very quickly are beginning to understand that life insurance has an important role.
Yes.
And they've now got more choices. And I think that's a good thing. Because
I think, Robert, it's the fact that you've been able to work with the financial institution who are more the visible, that people, 15 years ago, even banks, the Cambodia don't trust because there are so few of them, right?
Yeah.
So in a way, you this institutional partnership give an extra, I would say, add on in terms of trust factor.
Yes.
That they actually see, I go to Maybank, go CIMB, NZ. Okay, there's something tangible. Yeah. So in a way, I think it's a good strategy to build more that trust factor. The what you call that what you can see there.
Yeah. No, that is very true. I mean, bank assurance is a fast-growing sector in Asia.
In Asia.
Never mind Cambodia. Bank assurance origins were in Europe about 40 years ago. And it came to Asia about 20 years ago. And what it does is, you're quite right, you have the credibility of the bank, like ABA, and Zapata Bank is another bank that we work with. So you have the credibility of those banks, and then they are referring customers to us to help them to complete their entire financial planning.
Yeah.
So, they've got access obviously to their mortgages and their deposit accounts and their credit cards and so on. And then they're able to have this protection.
Yes.
So if anything happened to them, their businesses are secure.
In Europe, bank insurance is very, in style. It's, wherever you go, you see advertising, bank insurance.
Yeah. So it's an important sector, and it's one that's growing strongly here in Cambodia. And once again, we work with the regulator to make sure that...
in bank insurance, you have to work with NBC, right?
Yes, of course, yes. And with MEF.
Yeah.
And so, and that... we just have such a fantastic opportunity in Cambodia to really give customers the very, very best service.
Okay.
And to make sure that we are answering their needs, helping them plan for their future. I really do believe that we sat down in Manulife and we asked ourselves, why are we here? And I remember one day one of our actuarial students telling me that his family couldn't understand why he was working so hard, so hard, and that he was having to make this very, very big commitment. And he really did get me thinking that it's very important that I think our staff and our customers need to know why we're doing what we're doing. And the very obvious question to why we're doing it, or the very obvious answer sometimes, is that you're doing it because you want to make lots of money, you want to be the number one company, you want to please the boss, and so on. But research shows that in fact it's very important that people see the purpose of a company in helping people. And so we sat down as a team and said, why are we doing what we're doing? And because when we looked at what the product did, how it protected people's families, how it actually allowed people to plan long term, and at the same time, those premiums in the life insurance industry then go to start to invest in the economy,
Yes.
that actually, why were we doing this? We were really doing it to build a better and healthier financial future for Cambodian families. And once my staff got that, and we
Yes.
made a kind of a poster
Yes.
about it, and we put it up around the offices, that it was a very simple answer. So that if your mother or father asked you, or your partner, why do you work so hard?
Yeah.
I'm doing it because I'm building a better financial
it's a
future.
feeling of national pride.
Yes.
It's a
Yeah.
feeling of
That's
that,
right.
No, I think I want to say something that many times it's not explained that much. We see a lot of tangible thing, but it's a lot of psychological factor behind. Let's face it. I mean, this society is still living in the legacy of the Khmer Revolution. Let's be real about that. Not many people understand that. But the fact that the Khmer have destroyed the whole fabric of society, social, financial, physical fabric of society, and then we have to restart from scratch. Of course, in the early, after the peace process, for the first 10, 15 years, it's more about trying to get food on the stomach, right? Try to, overcome your daily need, right? But as the country mature, as people feel, they meet the first need, Maslow hierarchy of need, right? And then the country opens up with the WTO, with ASEAN, people can travel. Suddenly, there's a sense of pride. Oh my God, Singapore is here, Malaysia is here, Thailand is here. Where are we? And this sense of, I would say it's a bit more patriotic to say, hey, 1,000 years ago, our ancestor was able to build Angkor Wat. We should have that sense of national pride. And that's probably explain a lot what you just described. That, I want to be, of course, I want to earn a living, make good money, I want to be a champion of say whatever. But behind the ultimate motive also is to be proud that to contribute in development of our country.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And I think Cambodian people have a tremendous pride and hunger to actually fulfill that. And I've sensed that a lot.
Yes.
That, when we're pursuing a good cause, because I'm very passionate about our industry. I think it does a huge amount of good, all around the world with some of the things that it's been able to do. I mean, Manulife, I'm not Canadian, but I find that they are very fair, very open type of people, and the company reflects that kind of culture. And we are very proud of the fact that every year we pay out over $20 billion US dollars in benefits to our customers worldwide. So in Japan, in the United States, in Canada, and in Asia. And 20 billion is a big number and it's hard to imagine, but it's about $55 million a day.
Wow.
And Cambodia, my plan is going to get a bigger and bigger share of that, so that because we're just at the beginning of the runway, and we're building it up. But when I say we're building it up, it's actually Cambodian staff that are building it up.
Speaking of that, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want you to go over about the staff. Basically, how do you build this industry, which is based on the staff, and how do you go about it? Best practice. What motivates you, what motivates them. Ultimately, and perhaps at the end, that's what make the company a great company.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we take one more break. Robert, you mentioned the average Cambodian are about 24, right? And I'm pretty sure this applies as well in your industry, and that's an age where a lot of idealism, a lot of drive, for sure they have the energy, we slightly older, we have the wisdom. They have the energy, they have the passion, they have the drive, they have the ideals, they have the ambition, But all this will not materialize unless it's being coached, unless it's being nurtured, unless the company provide the environment, unless the leadership, the management, is motivated to I would say to unleash their potential.
Yeah.
I think this is very important.
Yeah.
How do you do that in your company?
Okay.
What you're doing now.
Yeah. Well, as I said at the beginning, my enthusiasm and my commitment to this role and to Cambodia really stems from my belief in my own staff. I knew nothing about Cambodia until I came here and started seeing the passion that people had,
Yes.
that they wanted to do something good for the country. But it didn't automatically mean that we had earned their trust, because we were taking them into an industry that their parents had never seen before. When somebody buys a life insurance policy in the UK or in Australia, their parents would have owned a policy, and their grandparents would have owned a policy. And
So it's easy.
Well, they wouldn't say it was easy there, but they would. There's a reinforcement
Yes.
that actually this is a solid industry. When we started, people thought, "Are you really going to pay out when a customer passes away?"
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't say that.
Yeah.
But we think it.
It's behind.
And so when we had our early claims, it was very important that we as an organization demonstrated that our customers, at a time of real need, that we were encouraging our staff to reach out to them to help them get through this difficult period. And the last thing they needed was any kind of dispute about whether or not they should be getting this money. So we made sure we paid it very quickly. And so people started to see, our staff started to see that actually this is an industry that does say what it's going to do, so all legitimate claims were paid very quickly. Now, Manulife, throughout the years, have had anonymous surveys done by independent companies like Aon. And each staff member will receive once a year a confidential link and then a password. They will go into that system and they will be asked something like 140 odd questions.
By the Big Four? The big auditing firm or something like this?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they will be asked about 140 questions about what they think of their company. What do they think of their boss?
Interesting.
What do they think of their development?
Whoa.
Have we lived up to...
Confidential.
It's all confidential.
Okay.
And what happens is that all this data is collected. So the president of Manulife can see 33,000 staff.
Wow.
What do they think?
Yes.
And of course these companies have all these algorithms which tells you how committed and how engaged your staff are.
Wow.
So that then breaks down to country. So I can get my country report.
Yes.
And then it breaks down to department.
Wow.
Okay? Now it doesn't break down to individual because it's confidential.
It's confidential.
But you can tell at the department
Yeah.
how engaged they are. So when we first did this back in 2014, I think it was, for Cambodia, we could see some issues that people wanted more in development.
Yes.
They had a bigger appetite for knowledge. There were questions about recognition and all kinds of things. And we then set up our own team to analyze the feedback, and then we started implementing what people had said.
Yes.
And as I say, it was all anonymous. So we then developed a strategy whereby we wanted to continue to engage our staff, and we put in more development programs so people could study things about leadership, they could study things about how to run meetings properly, they could go on courses to see how they can coach their staff better. Sometimes, people don't realize that leadership is about almost being servile. You're helping your staff.
Yes.
And therefore, you don't just tell people what to do.
Yes.
You show them. And if you show somebody, they won't forget it.
Yes.
If you tell them, so you demonstrate it to them. And so we were able to emphasize different behaviors that people wanted to see. And as a result of that, we have one of the highest engagement scores in Manulife in Cambodia.
Wow.
You know,
in the global
in the global
Manulife
organization,
network.
and I think one of the highest in Cambodia and other companies. So it really did show that if we listen to our staff. Now we don't always agree.
Yes.
That's not the point. The point is that that we get the opportunity to hear what people have to say, and then say, right, okay, this is what we're trying to do as a business. This is our mission statement. And if you disagree with our mission statement, then clearly we have a problem, because if you're not here to help Cambodian families have a better, healthier financial future, then there's no point in being here.
Yes, exactly.
And so I have this conversation with all new staff when they join, and so that's helped us a lot in targeting the development of our staff, and that's resulted, I think, in increased loyalty and productivity from our team,
and also it give a sense of belonging. Because when you are 24, 25, you're looking at your long term, where I'm going to be. Do I see a future in a company? Is that company I want to grow with? And this sense of loyalty give a lot of motivation for people, and the fact that you've been able to, I would say, benchmark worldwide, that's quite impressive.
Yeah, I think so. And I think another challenge in Cambodia was the concept of planning and thinking long term, even for our customers. When you're selling a 15-year policy to somebody, they can say, well, this policy is going to mature in 2030.
But
that's a long time.
But I tell you, Robert, I go back to my original premise that the fact that what we went through during the Pol Pot Khmer Rouge period, it kills in this long-term perspective in the generation that survived, because for them it's a day-to-day survival, and even after that genocide period is over, psychologically, they cannot think long term, because look at when they see the picture of the central bank blown up, right? How can they have, I would say, trust in the real currency, for example? Why do you think Cambodia is a dollarized economy? You see, so it would take a generation. It would take a generation untraumatized. And that's why for you the challenge to get them to think long term is a major challenge, and if you succeed, a major, I would say, psychological accomplishment.
No, I agree. And but I think all humans, we do want to think long term. We naturally want to do that. But obviously, if your experience is that you can't do that, you survive by thinking short term. And I think that's a very real thing, because fortunately for me anyway, I've never been in a situation whereby I've had to think that way, but people want to think long term, and I see that now. And so when we were talking about staff engagement, they are now thinking more about their long-term career. Whereas that when I first came here, I would get someone's CV and they had moved jobs every year. And I thought, why are you moving? And it was, well, I get a job, I get a better job, and then I get a better job, and I get a better job. And I said, well, what's your definition of a better job? More money. Is that really the definition? Because what about job satisfaction? What about learning and developing your career? What about developing into a leader? And helping your country? And no one had ever talked like that to my people anyway, that way. And it was like, well, can I trust you? If I stay, will I get the opportunity? And you don't get it right every time. But it is so important.
I think, Robert, what you say is like, in my industry, the legal industry, we 6-7 years ago, we have the same. When people come apply, to work with us, and that's their main preoccupation. We have very high turnover. Somebody offer a little bit more, they move on. But it's not true. Not so much true now, because people feel that, look, this is a place I can grow. Money is there, but the other motivation are more important. And I think it has a lot to do with the stability of the country, with
Yes.
the stability of the economy,
Yeah.
the stability of the industry. Because if the country is still unstable, people don't know where to go. If the industry is unstable, people don't know where to go.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's a good sign now that you see a certain stabilization process
Yeah.
in less turnover, which is one of the main indicator.
Yeah.
So I would say we're on the right track. We're on the right track.
No, I think Cambodia generally is. When I arrived in 2012, I remember talking to people like yourself and other people who said to me, we've made unbelievable progress in the last 10 years, and you can see it in the infrastructure getting better and more cars and so on. And I now can say the same thing, that during that time, I mean, if you look at the number of cranes you see in Phnom Penh, you see the development, and I know the infrastructure is trying to catch up, but there is that feeling of optimism, that people are earning more money, that people have more choices.
Yes.
And that's why I'm very optimistic about the future of Cambodia.
And the middle class, the rise of the middle class is a good indicator of a social stability.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in fact, it's them who will sort of help shape the outcome of the economy, because they spend more, their kids are more educated, and you probably know that in the entrepreneurial class, many of the old entrepreneur who start from scratch have their kids coming back from Australia, from Canada, from UK, from Singapore. They're taking over the family business, but with a more open, well-educated thing, and you will see that entrepreneur take off. And to me, that's a good sign of a society that are growing, but with a better base, with a better business model, with a better, I would say, confidence level there. Yeah.
No, I think that's very true, and we also have to, as an industry and as a company, respond to the changing needs of Cambodians, because everything here is compressed.
Yes.
I said, our industry is 300 years old. That does not mean that the industry here is literally 6 years old.
Yes.
I mean, it's been going for 6 years.
Yes.
But the knowledge, and sophistication of the new products will catch up with what we're doing in other territories.
Yes.
And Cambodians are very quick to move to digital.
Yeah.
So you see now everybody has a smartphone.
Yes.
I think the smartphone penetration is something like 40 or 50%. Everyone has a mobile phone.
Yes.
And so we can do things in Cambodia that are much more difficult sometimes to do in other more traditional territories.
Fintech, you mean?
So I mean the fact that we're able to collect our premiums through mobile banking through an organisation like Wing is really was unheard of in other countries. But in Cambodia they took it to it very, very quickly. We have something like 355,000 Facebook followers. Because 6 million people here are on Facebook, and they communicate through Facebook, and we see opportunities of helping our customers service their policies and be able to look at them online and so on. So all of these developments we want to try and bring to them as quickly as possible, and in some cases we've already done that.
Well, Robert, we coming to the end of the show, unfortunately. First, I thought 30 minutes was not enough, and then I pushed up to 45. It's still not enough, but fortunately, that's all we have, 45 minutes. So, any last word for the audience?
Well, I would just like to thank all our customers and our future customers for trusting Manulife. That we now insure over 60,000 people, and for $1.4 billion, and we couldn't have done that without the trust of the people of Cambodia. We are continuing to develop our products. Recently, we're launching a critical illness product which allows people to insure themselves against critical illness, so that they will get financial help should anything happen to them. So I'm very proud of my staff and what we have done and what we have built here in Cambodia. And I think this is going to be a tremendous industry, and we're very proud to be one of the leading players in it. Thank you.
Robert, my friend, thank you so much. And I hope to have you for the fourth time when the industry is slightly more mature, you know. So anyway, let me just wrap it up by saying it's good to hear, you know, this update of the industry, not just as the industry itself, but what make me feel very confident is that we see a society that also maturing with the industry. We see a society that understand better, you know, beyond just the physical need of having food in the stomach. They start to see long term, and this is a sign of hope, because a society that don't think long term will not be successful. We have to think beyond that. We have to think 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road. And I think the life insurance industry is probably helping quite a bit without even knowing it. You know, helping change this paradigm thinking, you know, of people who have survived the traumatized period of the Khmer Rouge, where we think of only day to day. But now we start to think about our kids. We have to start to think about our grandchildren, where we want them to be, where we want our society to be. So on that note, Robert, thank you so much for coming. Yes, once again.